When will Eevee finally receive a new evolution? Fans are constantly speculating about this topic. Today I want to talk about the purpose of Eevee, its evolutions, and detail the new ways Eevee could evolve. The last time Eevee received the new evolution was in 2013 with Pokemon X and Y. This was 10 years ago. The Kalos region introduced the new fairy type, so it was fitting that they created a fairy type Eeveelution to market and embody this new typing. Today, it has been nearly a decade since Sylveon was introduced, so it feels like it's only a matter of time before we get to see a new Eevee evolution. Eevee is the perfect Pokemon to represent the Pokemon franchise. It's this little cute animal that can evolve into a multitude of different creatures. Game Freak loves their patterns, and for nearly 2 decades, we were able to predict when we were gonna get a new Eeveelution. But what type would this new Eevee evolution be? Here are 3 reasons why Eevee will receive a new evolution in the next few years. But first, when I'm not playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I'm outside exploring. But during these colder months, especially in New England, it can be difficult to find the correct shoes for each adventure. Thankfully, today's amazing sponsor, Vessi, ensures my feet stay dry and warm so I can continue every adventure. Vessi shoes are 100% waterproof and snowproof. That's because they're made from this soft material called Dymatex, not Dynamax, allowing these shoes to be comfortable, lightweight, and breathable. The reality is, not everyone in my family likes Pokemon like that, but I'm confident that everyone in my family will like a sneaker that will keep their feet dry and warm this holiday season. Even the grip on these shoes are built for all weather conditions. Whether your trek is to Glaciado Mountain or Area Zero, these sneakers look great and give me the freedom to explore new places. With Vessi, I can now be as comfortable outside as I am gaming on my couch. Vessis are the perfect gift to put under your tree and on your feet. Check out their holiday sale now at vessi.com/Dusty Gogoat. Get the style and size you want now before they sell out. If you miss the sale, use code Dusty Gogoat for 15% off your entire order. Thank you, Vessi, and now back to the video. Number 1, I think it's highly probable that this new Eeveelution will interact with and be a counterpart to the fairy type Sylveon. Sylveon was the first Eeveelution to be introduced as a standalone. Some possible counterparts to the fairy type include Dragon and Fighting, as those types are weak to fairy type Pokemon, or Steel and Poison. Both of those types have a competitive advantage against the fairy type. All of these would make excellent candidates for a new Eevee evolution, but it's probably going to be a Dragon type. In earlier generations, each Pokemon type was classified as either special or physical. If we apply this filter, you can see that every existing Eeveelution possesses a type which corresponds to the special category, and almost every special type is represented except for the Dragon type. This is the strongest piece of evidence suggesting that we will one day see a Dragon type Eevee evolution. However, if this does not happen, there are a few more possibilities. Number 2, we will finally see the first Eeveelution of a physical typing. This would honestly be very exciting because it opens up the possibility for some vastly unique character designs. And if they bypass the Dragon type, it would mean that Game Freak is actively thinking about the future of Eevee long term. Okay, like if the next Eeveelution is a physical type, let's say it's Steel type, that opens the door for every other physical type Eeveelution. It means they have a 30-year roadmap for the franchise and could periodically release new Eeveelutions every 5 to 10 years. Think of it like this: if you were in charge of the highest grossing media franchise in the world, you wouldn't want to use up all of your good ideas all at once. You would instead want to trickle out new designs over time. If Game Freak uses up all of the Eeveelution types too fast, they'll have nothing left to bait us with. So if the second option comes to fruition and the physical typing is next in line, I believe this Eeveelution would be represented as either Steel, Ghost, Rock, or Flying type. I think those are some of the most exciting elements that an Eeveelution could embody, but every other physical type is still a valid possibility. Insert your favorite typing here. Now let's move on to number 3. A new type will be introduced into the Pokemon canon, and Eevee will be given a new evolution to promote this new type. 20 years ago in Generation 2, Pokemon introduced 2 new typings, and 10 years later in Generation 6 they introduced the Fairy type. It is no coincidence that Eevee was given new evolutions to represent and capitalize on these new types. I'm telling you, we are due for a new Pokemon type and a new Eeveelution. New Pokemon types that we could expect to see in future generations include fan favorite Sound type. We could also be looking at a Cosmic type. This might be called Space or Alien type. And then we've also got the possibility of an artificial, a technology type. You might want to call it Cyber or Digital type. All of these are great options for a new typing, and whichever type ends up being introduced, rest easy that Eevee will get a new Eeveelution. Eevee now sits next to Pikachu as a mascot of the Pokemon Company. I think the entities that control the Pokemon franchise would be wise to periodically remind us why Eevee is so special in the first place. At this point, I really think Game Freak is done with any sort of patterns when it comes to Eevee. I don't think we're going to be getting a new Eeveelution every other generation. I think that those times are done. Honestly, and in some ways, I never really even believed that to begin with. The pattern started out with 3 Eeveelutions in Generation 1, and then we got 2 more in Generation 2. So right there, that's not a pattern, right? I will give you that in Gen 4, we got the 2 new Eeveelutions, and then in Gen 6, we did get a new Eeveelution, but we didn't get a pair of Eeveelutions, right? I think from the start, the pattern argument has been kind of flimsy. Something I didn't even mention, a normal type Eeveelution. That'd be kind of cool, right? I think there is a lot of fan art depicting a normal type Eeveelution, and while I think in some ways it kind of like goes against the whole purpose of Eevee, it's this normal, simple Pokemon that doesn't really have an element, evolving to then gain an element. You know, if it just grows up becoming like a bigger Eevee, I think that'd be pretty adorable, right? It's like Raichu from Pikachu, but I don't know if that'd be like my #1 pick when it comes to a new Eevee. Definitely not my first pick, but I think it'd be interesting to see that. Kind of reminds me of like a Mega Evolution. A lot of Mega Forms are just bigger, badder versions of the base Pokemon, and it's kind of interesting. None of the Eeveelutions got a Mega Form. Eevee did, however, get a unique Z Crystal in the Alola region. It got its own unique Z move, and then in Galar, Eevee does get a G-Max form. In some ways, maybe you could interpret the pattern as, you know, we didn't get a new Eeveelution in Generation 8, but we did get, you know, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Eevee being the mascot of an entire Pokemon game. That is pretty significant. And then it also got a G-Max form. So if you wanted to believe the pattern, I think you could go with that. Generation 9 has a lot of unique Pokemon forms, or like gimmicks for Pokemon forms. We have the Paradox Pokemon, the Convergent species, additional regional forms and regional evolutions. I do not see Eevee. I've never really thought Eevee should get any sort of limited evolution in that sense. I feel like if it's gonna get a new evolution, it should be universal. But something that could actually be really interesting is a regional form or some sort of form variation of Eevee, just Eevee. And then that base Pokemon has access to all of the physical types. All of its evolutions, all 7 or 8 or whatever, are all monotype, physical type evolutions. And this would be a counter to all of the traditional Eeveelutions being special type. All of the Eeveelutions have the Eon suffix, so maybe these new Pokemon would have a different suffix, but that might be a really interesting way to keep Eevee as, you know, what it is, but still allow for that type gimmick, and for fans to look forward to a new evolution from this iconic Pokemon. I mean, Vulpix was always popular, but I feel like Alolan Vulpix, which is just a snow version of Vulpix, has actually outgrown regular Vulpix, like traditional Gen 1 Vulpix, in popularity. So I think something like that could actually work with an Eevee regional form. Generation 10 is likely to release on the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise. I really think Gen 10 would be the perfect region, the perfect generation and time to introduce, maybe they just go all out and give us 3 new Eeveelutions. I think even just one would be great. I think also Gen 10 would be a good opportunity to introduce one of these new types that I mentioned, right? The Cyber type, the Sound type, Light type, whatever it might be, Artificial type. I think they're all really cool concepts that will allow for new Pokemon designs and concepts, not just for Eevee, but also especially for Eeveelutions. Would love to hear what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Subscribe so you don't miss a single theory video. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck hunting.